You're listening to the Morning Mayhem with Tyler and Mo.
Z97.5.
Another day, another debate.
Yes.
With Mo Reese.
Yes.
Before we get into this, I will say that you are not that much drama on the social medias.
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I really do avoid drama, and I only get into debates when I really feel like I have a good point to make, in that I feel like the participants are educated enough to have the debate without it going awry and people start calling each other names and bashing each other. So I avoid most of these conversations, especially political ones, because there's just no point in those.
All right. So what started? What was the question?
Well, it started with a meme that somebody had shared, and I had commented on theirs, and then my friend saw some of the comments on that one, so he posted it himself. And it was basically, the debate is like, well, his original post says, "Wow, I just found out that the man of the house doesn't get his plate first anymore. Stuff is very different now. It always turned into a heated debate on Facebook for some reason. Honestly, I don't think people believe in even eating at a table as families." And so that, kind of opened it up. So, people just started kind of giving their opinion about who gets their plate first, husband or the kids, and why. And some women are like, well, my husband gets his plate first. He's the man of the house. He's the head of the household. Da, da, da.
Really?
Yeah. And I feel like the kids should get their plate first. So my original comment, and I feel like mine got the most reactions to it.
Because you're such a rational human being.
I said, yeah, I am very rational.
You are.
I said, as a father, I definitely want my child eating first. What do I look like? A grown man making sure that I have a plate before my own seed. Doesn't make sense to me. And so then, people started everybody had their own side of it. So I put out there, for those that feel like a man should get a plate before his kids, can you explain to me the logic behind it? And then that's where the main conversation started.
All right, I want to hear these. I want to hear their response. What was their reasoning?
So one person said, more so how I was raised, men have been the head of the house in my family for years. Regardless, everyone is going to eat. I prepare everyone's plate when we do sit at the table for dinner. I give him his plate, then the children, then mine. We say grace. We eat together. It's worked in my family, so I continue to do what I know.
Huh.
Which makes sense.
Which would you rather do here? Would you all wait? I mean, are you giving your husband the dish first and then letting him eat, and then you give the kids stuff and they eat, and y'all eat at all different times? Like first come, first serve, first eating?
I guess it's supposed to be the man gets his plate first, then the kids get their plate, then the mother, and then everybody eats together is how it's supposed to go, is the tradition, I guess.
I don't know if there is a tradition about it, because I've never heard of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I've never heard that it's supposed to be one way or the other. But it just makes sense. As a dad, you kind of like give the kids the food first.
To me, that's what makes sense. But
because they're the ones that are usually bitching.
Are talking about traditions.
Yeah.
And some of it goes back to being biblical. Some of it is just how you were raised. The man is the head of the household. So he gets his plate first. He's the one that provided to make the food, put the food on the table. Things like that. So one of my other comments was, I guess I can somewhat understand the head of the household argument, but I truly feel like these are outdated ideals.
Oh, me too. I was just about to say the same thing.
And I said, this tradition was, when it was really in its prime, women barely had any rights anyway. They barely even had the freedom to speak. They were expected to cook, clean, and serve their husbands every whim. So, and very few of the women had jobs back then.
Right.
Also, if we're talking about the time frame where this tradition was in its prime, blacks and whites couldn't even eat in the same restaurant at that time. So I feel like times change, and some traditions die with that, and rightfully so. I would think being a father would mean that you would want your kids to be served first, in the case that a family even does eat at the table together, because a lot of families don't even eat at the dinner table together. But to me, as a father, you should want your children to be served first. And that doesn't mean you can't wait for the parents to get the plate and sit down and eat. But to me, it's more important, because the kids didn't ask to be here. You made them. You're responsible for taking care of them until they're old enough to do so on their own. So to me, it makes the most sense as a father or a mother to serve your children first, and even probably start letting them eat first, and then you guys get your plate. And then honestly, what grown man can't just get up and get his own plate?
True.
You know,
He can make his own plate.
Yeah, because I can surely make my own plate now, and it could be because I'm single. I don't know. But as far as I can remember, even when my daughter's mom and I were together, before my daughter was born, she would just, once she made dinner, she'd just bring me a plate. And then once my daughter was born, we would make sure she got her food cut up and whatever and sitting at her table first, and then we get our own plates. But I don't know. It was a major debate. Like some of the other people said, let me see.
It's funny how it's convenient for most people to use the old ways of doing things when it's convenient for them.
Exactly.
But like let's say if I'm a black guy and I go by what you just said. Well, back in the day, a man was served first. But also back in that day, you were a slave.
Right.
So what's your point? You know what I mean?
I fully agree.
It's now convenient for you to be outraged.
It's convenient, and that's what people make their argument. One of the comments one of the girls made was, she tagged me and she said, Leron, why serve the kids first? What bills do they pay? How hard do they work? Who do they protect or provide for? By serving the head of the house first, you are teaching your kids to respect the person who created them, who provides for them, who protects them. That's just me, though.
If you think that, then you're really wrong.
Yeah. Well, my response to that was, aren't parents supposed to put their children first, though? They didn't ask to be here. They can't go out and fend for themselves until they reach an age where that's possible. Maybe I'm not old school enough or something. I don't know. I'm just saying, when it comes to stuff like this, the parents should want their kids to be served first. Even at a buffet, I go and make my daughter's plate first.
Absolutely.
Then I make my own.
Absolutely.
And I get that you want to respect for the provider, but I just feel like that the provider himself should insist that his kids come first.
So with that, and that's a great point, the buffet. Let's say we're going to China King. Since you're going to make your husband's dish first, or he's going to make his first, because obviously he comes first, he's head of the family, is he really going to go to the China King buffet line and get his own dish and then walk back to the table and start eating? While the kids are sitting there?
While the kids are just sitting there waiting on food.
You must be out of your ever-living mind.
I 100% agree. I don't know why. And I don't see why this tradition is still a thing.
That doesn't teach kids anything.
And that was another point I made, was I was like, look, it's saying you're showing kids respect for the head of the household. What kid is really paying that much attention to that crap? What kid? If I'm a hungry kid, I don't give a crap who gets a plate first. I'm not paying attention to who gets their plate first. I just know when I get my plate, I'm going to eat it. So you're not showing them anything, because your kids aren't paying attention to that unless you tell them, unless you verbally say, hey, kids, watch me make your father's plate first and sit it in front of him first, because you need these values, you need these morals. Now, those kids aren't going to think about that on their own.
Let's make a comment on the fact that this isn't for kids that are like 16 years old.
No, this is kids that are, I would think, toddler to early teen, maybe.
Yeah. I say once you're
like
12,
like 5 to 12, 5 to 12, maybe.
Once you're 12, you can make your own dish.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but we can make you one. That's fine, but I don't think it matters where it's going, what order. I don't know. It just seems weird.
There were definitely some strong arguments for both sides. And then two of the people kind of started going at each other personally.
Cool.
And that's when I was like, okay, that went.
Well, some of those were stupid comments.
Yeah. One of the guys was like, well, I'm the head of the household. I get my plate first. I'm sorry.
Well, you must be a really selfish lover too.